Today we're going to look at the debtors reconciliation. It is not as commonly asked as the bank and the creditors recons, but it can appear in statements. Well, with a debtor, it is somebody that owes us money, so it is not an external document. He's not sending us a statement which we can compare, like with either a bank statement or statement that we receive from the creditor. It is basically what we're going to reconcile here is our two sets of records. In other words, our general ledger, the debtors control account, and compare that to the debtors ledger, or we're going to call that the debtors list. So it's both within our own books, it's general ledger and subsidiary ledger. If they are not the same, we need to find out what the difference is. Remember, the general ledger is a combination. It's the totals of journals. There's no individuals in there. So that is why we've got the debtors ledger, which has all the individual debtors accounts. And at the end, the two should be the same. So we're going to look at, if they're not the same, how to reconcile them. Now this activity, they give us the debtors control account balance as well as the debtors list balance, and then they tell us we've got to do it on a column like they give us there below. So the first thing we're going to do is first put in the balances. Remember, a debtor is an asset, so it will always have a debit balance. So in the debtors control account, the balance is 19280. Debtors control account 19280. And the debtors list will also have a debit balance, always must have a debit balance, 15110. 15110. So now we're going to look at the adjustments we need to make, because they're now not the same. These two amounts should always be the same, because what I'm saying, in total my debtors owe me 19,280, but if I do them individually, it's only 15,110. It cannot be, it must be the same. So we're going to look at the information they give me and fix that on either the list or the control account. The debtors list. So I must first figure out which one was wrong. They tell me the list was wrong. It was overcast. In other words, we added it more than what it should be. So we must reduce it to get it to rectify it with the 1440. How do we reduce an asset? On the credit side. So we must put through a credit of 1440. That is number A. Good. Let's look at number B. The balance of a debtor was omitted from the debtors list. Again, just the list. So the list must be fixed. And it was omitted, left out from the list. A balance would be a debit. So they did not put this debit on the list. So I must debit the list to get it in. So I must put through a 530 debit on the debtors list. Nothing to do with the control account. Number C, a balance on the account of a debtor was brought down incorrectly. Account of a debtor means it is the individual accounts, the list, not the general ledger, which is the totals. So the balance should be 800, but it was brought down as 80 Rand. So let's look at how we're going to fix it. So it was it should be 800 Rand, which is the correct amount. But we brought it down as 80, which is the incorrect amount. So it is less than what it should be. So to fix it, if it's less, I must do the same. What did I do with the balance? Always a debit. So what is the difference? It's 720, and I said I must put it through the same. So I must debit it. So I must debit the list. They're not saying that the general ledger is wrong, just the individual debtors balance was calculated incorrectly. The amount on an invoice for Danny was miscalculated. On the invoice, it was miscalculated. So if the invoice was wrong, it means the amount that we put on the debtor's journal would be wrong, which means the total of the journal would be wrong, and that would mean that the debtor's control account would be wrong. But also because it's incorrect on the for Danny itself, it would also be wrong on his account. So both the list and the control account would be wrong in this case. So let's see. It should not be 1720, but 1360. So let's see how we will fix it. So it's 1720, where is it? It is the incorrect amount, and the correct amount is 1360. 1360 is the correct amount. The difference would be, let's just see, 360 Rand. Now we must just figure out how to fix it. The incorrect amount is more than what it should be. If it's more than what it should be, we must do the opposite. So we're going to do the opposite than what we did. What did we do? It was an invoice. So we debited it. So it was an invoice, so we debited it. So how must we fix it? Do the opposite. So we must now credit it. So we must credit it, but both for the control account, because the journal is totally wrong, as well as for the individual. So both of them I must credit with 360. Because if it's totally wrong, means the total of the journal would be wrong as well as the individual transaction. The total of the journal goes to the debtor's control account, the individual transaction to the debtor's list, to the debtor's account on the debtor's ledger. Let's look at E. Payments to creditors as per the CPJ were debited to the debtor's control account. Nothing to do with the individuals, just the debtor's control account. So it was debited to the debtor's control account, but it should have been creditors. So to get it out, I must do the opposite. So I must credit the debtor's control account with the 9520. So I must credit the debtor's control account with the 9520. If the debtor's journal was undercast and posted accordingly, the total of the journal, that is what goes to the debtor's control account. So that total was undercast to less than what it should be. It should have been 10,000 and not 5,080. So let's just see. So 5,080 is the incorrect amount, and 10,480 is the correct amount. Okay, what did we do with the, we've got less than what it should be, so we must do the same. What did we do? What is it that it was undercast? The DJ was undercast. The DJ is the purchases, so the purchases would make it more, so it was a debit. So initially we debited it with 5,080. What is the difference between the correct and the incorrect? The 5080 and the 10480 gives me 5,400. So I must do the same. What did I do? I debited it, so I must put through a further debit of 5,400. It was on the journal, the total of the journal, so it's just the debtors control account that needs to be fixed. So the debtors control account, I need to put through a further debit of 5,400. Number G, let's see. A credit note of 510 was recorded but not posted to the debtor's personal account. So it was recorded, was on a journal, so the journal was correct, so the debtor's control would be correct, but the debtor's list, his personal account, was not posted to. Credit note would make it less, we make it less on the credit side. So we need to, on the credit list, put through the 510 that hasn't been recorded. Right, so in the second part, we will continue with the rest of the adjustments.